And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to take a look at 3 roll and write games at the same time. We have Lost Cities Roll and Write. This is designed by Reiner Knizia and is a roll and write version of the very popular game Lost Cities, which me and my wife love, the card game. Torpedo Dice, which is a roll and write where you have a submarine and you are rolling dice and then drafting them to attack your opponent's submarine and destroy it before they destroy yours. And then Clever Cubed. Now this is the 3rd game in the series, a very popular series of Ganshan Clever, or That's So Clever, and Clever Twice, or whatever. This is the 3rd one in that series. Now, what's the similarity between these all? Well, they're roll and write games, where you will roll dice, use the results of those dice to then, fill out things on a sheet of paper. How do you do that? And what's the differences between these? And what do I like and dislike about them? Let's see. Let's start with the components for each of them. So these two, Lost Cities and Clever Cube, come with a pad of paper. They come with dice, and the dice, I don't know, I like the Clever Cube dice. They're wooden dice, easy to see the pips. Lost City comes with 3 plastic 10-sided dice and 3 wooden 6-sided dice with colors. By the way, that's a mismatch. I don't like, you have to roll them together. You should have all plastic or all wooden. And then Torpedo Dice comes with some fairly cheap feeling plastic dice. However, Torpedo Dice comes with erasable boards, which really should be the standard in the industry at this point in time. The other ones just come with sheets of paper for, each player is going to need a sheet of paper. Although Clever Cubed comes with markers, and Lost Cities comes with nothing. Go find your own writing utensils. Let's do a brief rundown of each game. In Clever Cubed, on a player's turn, they're going to be rolling these dice. They're going to be picking one of the dice that was rolled and placing it here on their sheet that they're going to use. The dice that they've rolled that are equal to that die or lower than that are going to be placed here in the bowl. And after they've taken 3 dice and used those dice, they're going to re-roll each time. And everyone else who isn't the main player who's taking that turn gets to use one of the dice that's left over. One of the dice, the white one, is a wild one. The rest of them are going to let you cross off different sections here. Some you're just writing numbers down, some you cross off specific numbers, some you're trying to get to different values, you're crossing grids off. I'm not going to get into all the details, but you're going to score points in various different ways. And when you finish rows and columns in some of these, they let you cross off something in another one. There are ways to re-roll the dice, add 1 to the die value. You get these special bonuses that you'll be able to use. And again, it's all about kind of crisscrossing these, and at the end of the game, you're going to add up your points in each color, and then there's these foxes which provide you a ton of points depending on how many of them you've reached over the course of the game. And whoever has the most points wins. In Lost Cities, players are going to be rolling dice, and the active player is going to pick 1 pair of dice for them. So they might take the 8 hearts, or 8 red, and then the other players will pick from the remaining dice, just like the Clever Cubed. The ones, so the main player is rolling dice, everyone else picks between the dice. So I could take a 9 blue, a 9 yellow, a 3 yellow, a 3 blue, and you're going to write it at the bottom of a column. And you keep at writing numbers on top, but you can only write a number on top if it's the same number or higher. And when you get to an arrow, it lets you go up farther. If you get to one of these artifacts, you cross an artifact over. If you can't write a number or choose not to, you cross one of these off. And when you the first person to pass this line gets 20 points. Otherwise, the game's going to end at a certain point when these things are all filled up. And how high you are in each of these will score you points. And there's even a way to get double points by playing it. It's very similar to Lost Cities, except instead of cards, you're going to be looking at the results of dice that are rolled each turn. In torpedo dice, each player has one of these boards in front of them, and the bottom is your cockpit. This is you manipulating your dice, attacking your opponent, and then this ship here is actually your opponent. If you're playing a multiplayer game, it's the person to your left. And in this game, you're going to be rolling dice, and players are going to be drafting those dice. When you get those dice, depending on what number you take, and I'm going to show you this chart here, which they really should have put on a card that everyone can see. It shows how you can draw dots in the board. So if I get a 1, I can hit any single spot on the board. If I get a 2, they have to be diagonally across from each other. You can see that you're kind of matching the number. This shows what you can't do. This shows what you can do on the side here. So you're filling these in, and you're trying to blow up a whole section here, which will then you tell your opponent, I blew up your periscope, so they have to cross the periscope off. Why does that matter? Because you're able to manipulate the numbers and do things with all these systems. At the beginning of the game, you have all these systems to use, but as time goes by, they start getting destroyed by your opponent. And the goal is to destroy your opponent's submarine before they destroy yours. So taking a look at these three, why did I put these three together? They're not really that similar other than the genre, but there's a lot of games that come out in this genre. And I just want to say, I'm not a big fan of any of these three of these games. Now, the one that's the least bothersome to me is Clever Cubed, but I can't recommend it. Why? Because we already have Ganshang Clever and the sequel to that. This is the third one. They literally could have just published another scoring sheet. The game feels exactly like the first two. I thought the second one was the same as the first one. And in fact, if you give me the sheet for any of these three games, I don't know that I would be able to tell you which one it's from. Well, probably I would, because this one here, the order that you do the dice matters for one of the colors. But come on, it's the same game again. And Ganshang Clever is a fine game. You know, it's I think there's an app for it to play online and stuff. And I just don't know why we need a third game that is literally the same game, just different ways to score. Feels like they could have just made an expansion with like 6 new sheets in and 6 new ways to score. It kind of feels like a cash grab at this point. And I know that people are going to love them, and maybe they'll have all three on their shelf. But if you came to me and said, hey, do you want to play something clever? I'd be like, I guess, sure. I don't care which one. And I don't see any reason to own all three. But other than that, the game is fine. It's just that, come on now. Torpedo Dice is a game I didn't like as much because, first of all, I feel like figuring out where you put the dots in the submarine is not as interesting as I say it is. You just try to blow up your opponent's systems, but the game gets less and less interesting as it goes by. And that's, for me, always something I don't like in a game. I like as a game progresses, I have more choices. This one constricts them. At the beginning, you literally can do almost anything with the die because you have all these, oh, I can change it to the other side. I can add one. I can do all this. But then that system's destroyed and you can no longer do it. And at the end of the game, you're like, well, I hope I get this number because then I'll beat you. And I just wasn't very excited by it at all. It didn't feel fun. And Lost Cities Roll and Write I just really despised because I love Lost Cities, like I said. And we played this as a family amongst people who like Lost Cities and people who never played it before, and everyone disliked it because it just comes down to luck. It's straight up luck. You know, in Lost Cities, I can sit there and go, the 3 yellow, I know it's in the deck. It's in your hand or it's in that deck. It's going to come out at some point. In this one, the 3 yellow could be rolled 20 times in a row. And in the games of this I played, every game of this I played, I considered the winner, even if it was myself, to have won by sheer luck. Every time. Because you fill in the numbers at the top, not to mention that the concept of this one isn't new at all. Where you put higher numbers over other ones. There's lots of roll and write games that do that. Reiner Knizia, you're kind of like 5 years behind on the roll and write thing. But when you write those numbers higher than the other ones, at some point you'll probably have to write a 9 there. The only thing that can go above a 9 is another 9. And if you roll a 9, yeah! And if you don't, oh! I just was very, very disappointed with that one. Now, I think this genre is overcrowded at this point in time. I think there's a lot of these. In the Dice Tower library, we probably have 20 of them. None of these three are getting added. I thought about adding Lost Cities Roll and Write because I think people would be interested in that based on Lost Cities, the card game. I thought about adding Torpedo Dice because it feels different than other ones that are out there. And I thought about adding Clever Cube because there's big fans of the original series. There's points to be made for all of these, and you may like these games for those reasons. But I think if you're a Lost Cities super fan, which I consider myself to be, I think this will disappoint you, Lost Cities, the roll and write, because it's so different. If you've ever played Lost Cities, maybe that's not a big deal to you. But even then, there are many games that do the same thing and has a heavy reliance on luck. Torpedo Dice, if you're looking for something different and unusual, that one might appeal to you. And if you like the idea of attacking your opponent, that's cool. I just find it to be a little too esoteric, and the game gets more constrictive as it goes by. Not my style. And you might like Clever Cube because if you hear the word clever in a roll and write game, you're in. And there is definitely cool things about, I fill in this one over here to this. I enjoyed my play of it. I just think that it's duplicating work that already is out there with a slightly different scoring thing. So there you go, 3 roll and writes. I'm not really recommending any of them. There's a possibility that you'll love them. I just think at this point in time, we have to be stricter on this genre anyway. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment? Nah, I got other ones.